principles for living a high-performance life. The Biz Devo is a weekly devotional for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. And these are short little versions of it that I do on social. My name is Kenneth Ott. If you'd like to listen to the long episodes, the full episodes, you can go to any Biz Devo, search the Biz Devo on any podcast platform or YouTube, or you can go to bizdevo.com. That's bizdevo.com. All right, so today, short little thing, but I want to talk about an episode that I have coming out, and I forgot my mic here. So let me see here. There we go. All right. Check, can you hear me? Yep. Okay, so today I want to talk about an episode that's coming out today. It's a special episode with a friend of mine called, his name is Jay Myers, and he is a really influential entrepreneur. He started a company called Bold Commerce, which is in the e-commerce space. And so if you've heard of Shopify or something like that, his company started right at the beginning, and it was the biggest app company on Shopify. And he's done something like $60 million of investment in their business, and I think they do about $30 million a year in revenue. Just an amazing company. And he's a God follower. He's a Christian entrepreneur in the mainstream. And so I talked through his story. And his story is really interesting. And so I'll leave you with, I want to tell you about one little concept that he talks about. He talks about a lot of different things. I would encourage you to go subscribe so that you can be notified when the episode comes out and you can listen to it. But there's one concept that he talks about called having to do with valleys and mountains. Okay, and so what's really interesting is as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as people with ambition, you're running towards the peak of the mountain. I know I am. I'm climbing the mountain. That's my goal, to hit the top of the mountain, right? And climbing a mountain is hard. But what's interesting, and a lot of us don't want to be in the valleys, right? The valleys are down times, those kind of things. But here's what's really interesting about mountains and valleys. And Jay talks about this in the episode, which you need to go listen to. But on mountains, when you look at the top of a mountain, it's generally it may be covered in snow if it's high enough. If it's high enough, it doesn't have any trees, nothing grows up there. If it's high enough, you can't even see because it's covered in clouds. And so mountains may be what you're going after, but things don't grow on top of the mountains. But when you look at the valleys, valleys are green, valleys are lush. That's where growth happens. Things are literally growing in the valleys where they don't grow on the mountains. And I think it's true with us. It's growth happens in valleys. It doesn't happen on top of mountains. And the practical application here is, I know a lot of us are in valleys right now. I've talked to a lot of people that are just having trouble in their businesses, and it's just can be a discouraging time. I talked about my challenges in first quarter. First quarter was very difficult. In fact, fourth quarter of last year was very difficult. And it felt like I'm in a valley. And as I listened to Jay talk about his story on this latest episode of the Biz Devo, which will be released today, and you should go subscribe to be notified and to listen to it because it's amazing. Jay has achieved some mountain peaks, $30 million a year in revenue for his company and these kind of things, mountain peaks. But here's what's interesting. As he was talking about it, I was realizing we all want to rush through the valleys, these down times. And the practical takeaway is the growth literally happens in the valleys. It doesn't happen on top of the mountains. In fact, the way that you're able to climb the next mountain is by being in the valley and having growth in the valley. And so that's the little kind of tidbit from this little sneak peek that I want to share with you today. And hopefully that's helpful for you. It's it's funny. One of the things about my life is this concept of growth. I want growth, and I realized that I was trying to rush through the valleys. Like I was not, hard times can either just be something that you endure and just be hard, or they can actually be something that you learn from. And so if you're gonna be in a hard time anyway, you might as well grow in that hard time, right? Like the idea of some of these concepts can be like ignored because they may seem like cliche personal development stuff. But the truth is, it's like if I'm gonna be in a hard time anyway, I might as well grow and learn in that hard time. And so as I've been in the valleys of my life recently, I'm like been intentional about figuring out how I can actually enjoy it, if that's even possible, and even learn from it so that I'm stronger so that I can climb up the mountain. So that's the first little takeaway. The second thing I just wanted to mention to you is in Jay's story, you're gonna find something really interesting when you listen to it. And he's gonna talk about, I don't wanna give it away, he's gonna talk about, he, like I, was in the product and e-commerce space. And so I still am. And that's kind of where the industry that we play in, we've done a lot of things in there. And he started this e-commerce business back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, when like that wasn't really a thing, or wasn't very common. And he had this very successful business. And then over time, he'll tell you the story, but over time, it started to fall apart, and he had to actually put that business to rest. It was a very difficult, emotional, and dramatic experience to where he literally was down to just $50 after having this really successful business. And that's discouraging. You could feel embarrassed and shamed about, to the people around you because you're supposed to be this successful person and you end up having to literally go out of business. So it was really dramatic and emotional time. But here's an interesting thing that he talked about. Right on the heels of that, he started this company, Bold, which went on to do, like I said, it's doing $30 million a year, $60 million of investment, like all these great things. It's the biggest app company in the e-commerce space. And he said that that company would not have been able to start had he not, or had that business prior died. Like it was important and actually pivotal that that business died in order for this business to be birthed, for Bold to be birthed. And now he's like one of the most influential people in that space, and for good reason, because of this. But when he was talking about that, it reminded me of something that is in this book, 10x is easier than 2x. It's by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. So if you haven't read this book, it's a very pivotal book for an entrepreneur. The basic idea is that it's actually a simpler path to 10x something than it is to 2x something. That small growth has so many different things that you can do that you just get caught up doing all these like overwhelmed in minutia of doing small things to get small growth, where you could just do one simple thing. It may be harder, one simple and big thing to go 10x or more. And it's a fascinating book. It's like, you should read this book. But it reminded me of one little quote, so I want to read this to you. I'll leave this with you, okay? This quote is from 10x is easier than 2x. It says this: letting go of the 80% isn't easy, because the 80% is your comfort zone. To go 2x, you can keep 80% of your comfort zone, right? So like to have incremental, small little growth, you can just stay in your comfort zone. For Jay, like he could have struggled and tried to keep that business alive. That would have been in his comfort zone. And he wouldn't have been talking to me as we did on our episode today, probably. He wouldn't have done anything that he had done. All right, so to go 2x, you can keep 80% of your comfort zone. You only need to make minor, subtle, tiptoe adjustments along the way to go 2x. Letting go of the 80% may feel as extreme as literally killing something you love. And I've had to do this, kill something I love, in order to let go of the 80%, in order to grow the 10x. And it is extremely hard. But the challenges that you go through truthfully, like in my experience, like when I've had to put something to bed, I've had to kill a business. I've even had to do things like that recently. And it's been really hard. It's very emotional. It's draining. It's not a fun thing. But in my experience, when I've had to do that, it's the thing that had to happen in order to even be able to birth the next thing. And in my experience, the next thing is often, I would say almost always, better than that previous thing, even though you didn't expect that. And so, hopefully this is helpful for you today. Hopefully it helps you live a high performance life. Go listen to the episode. It's coming out today at 10 a.m. Central Time, which is pretty close. It's dropping today. It's an episode with Jay Myers of Bold Commerce. And you can find that on the Biz Devo podcast. Okay, so if you'd like to learn more about subscribing to be notified to the Biz Devo, you can go to bizdevo.com. That's bizdevo.com. Or you can search up the Biz Devo on any podcast network, and you can subscribe there. You can also go to my YouTube channel if you'd like to. That's KTo&x, Kenott. And you can subscribe, and that's where we release them on YouTube. These are video episodes. If you'd like to learn more about me, Kenneth Ott, you can go to kenott.com. That's KENOTT.com. I'm not a pastor. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm a business owner who believes that the success principles are in the Bible, and that is the reason that this devotional, this podcast exists. And these are short little episodes that I do live on social, just from time to time. But if you'd like to listen to the long episodes, the longer versions, you can do that on the podcast itself. Now, I'll say this. Since I'm a business owner and entrepreneur, everything I do has some sort of profit engine or business model behind it. I just don't do anything that doesn't. But the Biz Devo has no real business model behind it at the moment, no profit engine. So there's no thing I'm trying to sell you. But the only way this exists is if you share it with somebody. All right, it's because that's the only thing that supports it. And so if this is helpful for you, or if you'd like to learn more, just like or subscribe, or just share this with someone that you might find, that you may think finds it helpful. Maybe an entrepreneur, maybe a business owner in your life. Okay, I'd appreciate that. Thanks, and until next time, never stop growing.